Good evening. Today is July 27, 2020, and this is the ninth episode of New Paradigms. I'm your host, Sargis Sangari, the Republican nominee for U.S. House of Representatives in the ninth Congressional District of Illinois. My guest today is Amy Kassem, and Amy is spelled with two M's in her first name. Amy is the 41st Ward Republican committee woman or committee man for the Northwest Side GOP and the vice president of the 41st Ward and the 26th Precinct. Most importantly, Amy is a police officer. She is also first VP of the Chicago Republican Party, VP of the Northwest Side GOP Club, and 2018 candidate for State Rep District 19. Amy is a sergeant of the police with 20 plus years of service to her fellow men and women. She continues to serve the community by supporting conservative values and advocating on behalf of all the residents of her district as the new GOP community man. Amy was born and raised in the city of Chicago, received her bachelor degree from Dominican University in River Forest. Amy has three children who have attended Catholic school and is an active member of the St. Monica's parish schools. She will be a value asset for the Republican Party in the Cook County and also throughout the state of Illinois, as she has worked tirelessly in the 41st Ward recruiting and supporting election judges and also conservative candidates to run for public office. I want to welcome Amy Kassem to our show today. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me, Sargis.
I mean, it's good to have you here. I know we're a little bit delayed for our viewers. Usually the program starts at 7 o'clock sharp, but as you know, today we received two of our fellow fallen police officers, and there was a delay from the tarmac to where the families received them. So I just came in myself from receiving our fallen angels. For a moment, I would ask for our listeners today to keep them in your prayers and light a candle if you can in their memories. Amy, I know it's difficult for you as a police officer. I know initially I want you to tell us a little bit about the 41st Ward, what it looks like, what the layout is, what are you guys working on recently. But if you get a chance at the same time, kind of reflect a little bit on police, being a police officer yourself, and what are some of the things that you go through in those 20 years of preparing and how the family deals with the issues that they're seeing and facing today. And there's a lot of the questions up front, but tell us a little bit about the 41st Ward and tell us a little bit about your police operations.
Sure. So the 41st Ward is made up a lot of city workers and a lot of police officers, firemen, paramedics. It's a huge part of our community. And lately, what we have been seeing throughout our city and throughout the rhetoric that has been on display from our leadership within the city, these are very sad times. The rhetoric to defund the police is, in my opinion, it's not a very good route to go. As you know, I recently organized a peace march that was held in the Austin neighborhood in response to two children who were violently murdered there. And we were welcomed by that community with open arms. They were grateful that we were there. And one of the messages that we brought to them from our community was to tell them that we support them. We support getting rid of the violence that has been ingrained within their communities, and that defunding the police is not the answer, and that we have to work together as create a good relationship between these communities and the police so that they do not have to live in fear anymore. They know that every day when our officers put on that uniform and they go into those areas that they don't necessarily live in, they took an oath to protect those people that live there. And they understand that there are good people that live in those communities that deserve their protection and their service. And these people understand that. And so I was pleasantly surprised today. I watched the superintendent give a press conference in regards to a new hotline, if you will, called I'mTellingDon'tShoot.com that gives a tool to the members of those communities to report these types of violent acts and the perpetrators that committed them.
No, I'm glad that there's some steps being taken. As we always say, people think that the police doesn't learn or doesn't go through a process, that they're stuck in their old ways. But no, policy changes because technology changes. Our tools that we have that we can use to do our policing changes. So it's much more of a broader approach from policing, where every year they go back, relook at how they could do something better, which is really not shared, unfortunately, by the mass public. I know recently we held that joint news conference at the site of the shooting in Southside Chicago. There was a joint letter that we all put together. I was asked if possible to put that letter together, and all the candidates who came signed it. And I think it's been received well. It's gotten a lot of movement, at least from the press side of the house. All we could do is work together. At the end of the day, you have to find the individuals who commit these crimes and you have to prosecute them. That's the first place you start. And I know it's difficult, given the fact that sometimes there's been an issue, even as the superintendent said, our police arrest, but individuals end up back on the street again. But so be it. That's the way it has happened, and that's the way it works. We just got to do a better job of it in the future. I would ask you, if possible, maybe if you could give us a little bit of an insight on. You've been involved in previous riots. I know, going back to when Occupy Wall Street and some of the same characters that you see today were part of those marches. Tell us a little bit about how you handled it. What are the differences that you see between when you had to deal with Occupy Wall Street before and what is happening today with the rioters that are out there causing all this destruction that our cities and communities are facing?
Sure. So let me just preempt my statements by saying that I do not speak for the Chicago Police Department. These are my opinions and solely my opinions. But when looking back at some of the previous riots that we have seen across our country, especially in regards to those that occurred during the World Trade Organization back in 1999, moving on actually to Germany in 2008, where they had riots there during that time. We did see some of the same individuals in the same groups. Antifa in particular was seen, and I know you've been very outspoken about that organization. It's a very loosely knit organization, which makes it difficult for federal agents to actually go after them. But we have seen an influx of these individuals coming into our city and cities across the country, especially in Portland. But looking back on some of the differences between what's occurring now and what had occurred back then, one of the key significant differences that I thought about was the fact that in 1999, when this incident happened, when there was mass riots and civil unrest in Seattle during the WTO, that was before 9/11. And it's something that definitely needs to be taken into consideration, because when we hosted here in Chicago the NATO conference here, the riots that we saw were nowhere near as bad or violent as the ones that we had seen previously in Seattle or in Germany. And one of the things that I recall being on the front line during that time was that there were a lot of private citizens that came out and stood alongside with us in response to these anarchists that were there. And they were actually calling these anarchists out on this violence, telling them to go home, that they were not welcome there. And I think that one of the reasons for that was because that conference was held after 9/11. And I think we still had a lot of patriotism going on in our country during that time. And people really felt compelled to show their patriotism in regards to the United States and our country. And a lot of the anarchists that we are seeing now are very young, college age kids. Even some we've seen, even the mayor has called out, some of these kids are still in high school attending some of these rallies and committing these acts of violence. And they don't remember 9/11. They don't remember the patriotism that occurred directly after that and for years and years to come. And that's something that I think should seriously be taken into consideration, and why get to the psychological differences as to why some of these younger people feel that they need to trample all over living in a capitalistic society, and why they think that socialism is the route to go. And we just have to do a better job as Republicans to dispel that myth and to show them the light. I know Turning Point USA has done a great job in showing the truth behind what socialism actually is and how it relates to communism. So we just need to keep doing a better job of getting that message across to our younger generation.
No, look, I lived through a revolution in Iran, and in Iran, I always tell the younger kids here that the socialists were the ones who started it initially. Under the Shah, the middle class was very wealthy. It was probably close to the upper class here in the United States. And the Iranian middle class sent all their kids to U.S. to study. The Shah sent them here. Unfortunately, they ended up in some of the most liberal universities in the United States. And they took back this idea that the Shah is bad and that there has to be a liberal ideology that they were learning. And Berkeley was Berkeley going back almost 40 years now since the Iranian Revolution. So those ideas was what they took back. And at the end of the day, what happened? The socialists toppled the Shah, and the Islamists came in and killed all the socialists. So, and unfortunately, we tend to see some of the same linkages when it comes to these groups that are loosely fit. When I was in Syria, we lost one of our commanders when I was running the Assyrian army force structures in Syria and Iraq. He was killed by a group of socialist Kurds, YPG Kurds. At that time, Antifa was there. Even if you just Google search, you'll see their flag flying. Now, you'll have people say, well, that's a flag from a European Antifa. What's the difference? They use the same network. It's almost like a franchise. You could put pizza in a franchise and you'll be successful. You could put burgers in a franchise, you'll be successful. So these lessons learned are there. These links are there. And I keep on warning people that there is foreign money that keeps on coming into these processes, and we have to be vigilant of it. Now, I cannot blame our young kids, to be honest. You could say that you should study on your own, you should do deep dives, you should know what organization you're joining, but it was our fault. We took our kids, we put them in front of the same socialist teachers that taught the Iranian middle class, go topple your government. In Iran under the Shah, where you had an economy where the rial was a fifth in the world, almost university. Almost every student was being educated here. The military was being educated at West Point or the Naval Academy. And you go back and destroy that government, and look what you have in 40 years, oppression. And I always tell people, don't be surprised how how the revolution might turn out. It won't be to your benefit. But we need to now come out. The silent majority needs to stop sitting on the sidelines. I was recently at a rally with the police. I think I have some pictures on it, on the rally that we held for the law enforcement. And I said at that rally, we have to start here, because as the law enforcement is the first line for us to really have a civil society. So the more we empower you guys, the more you can empower us. The more we stand with you, the more you can stand with us. We have to be your backbone. And it's not just that we stand with you guys or the police officers in times that are good. We have to be there when times are bad. And right now, times are bad. There's a lot of police officers that are getting injured, that have lifetime disabilities from some of the injuries that they're suffering. And in this case, I'm sorry, I do not agree with anybody. There's a picture here, and the young man behind the officer you see. When I went to shake his hand, I looked at him. I swear he looked like he was 16 years old, if not 12. So even our police are young, and they come from the same generation. But some of them decide to serve for the betterment of the nation. Others say, well, my way or the highway. When you take down a statue at the rally I was at, when we took down the Columbus statue, because one group of individuals said, well, I just don't like the way the statue looks, and you give in to them. What if tomorrow they come and say, I don't like your business, and they start looting it or burning it? Is a politician going to stay with us? I don't know. You could kind of see the tracks in the snow, as we say. If they come for you in your neighborhood, if you come for you and say, I don't like you living in this neighborhood, as some individuals have been even, followed by these Antifa guys to their houses, or they come after your family and your wife and children. This election, there has to be a decision made, and you have to cut it loose quickly. I was asked at one of the rallies, can you educate folks? I said, you got less than 100 days almost. You don't have time to educate right now. You got to change out the leadership, bring new blood in, and then refocus the nation, hopefully.
So it's interesting that you say that, Sargis, because I feel like I am just screaming from the rooftop, telling people that have continually chosen to bury their heads in the sand and look away from what's going on. They don't want anything to do with it. I keep telling these people, if you don't stand up to this and you don't do your part to make sure that this doesn't happen, eventually these anarchists are going to be at your front door. And we just saw that recently in St. Louis with that couple. They didn't ask for those rioters to come onto their property. They were caught off guard and they were terrified for their life. And now look, now they're the ones that are being prosecuted. Things are just upside down right now. And like I said, if people don't take a stand and draw that line in the sand, these people are going to be coming at their front door eventually.
I mean, I hope they understand it. Unfortunately, majority of people don't take action. Not too many people are, take the lead. We're at a point where I tell folks all the time, they cannot move their finger from here to here. That far, just to be able to vote the incumbent out. When you cannot literally control your own finger and move it from here to vote somebody out. I'm running against an incumbent who's been here for 20 plus years. That incumbent, I was looking at ways of attacking the incumbent, and I couldn't find any bills that she had literally signed as a lead herself. And I finally gave it out to a couple of my friends. I said, look, either I don't know how the hell to really look at these things or something's missing. And turned out she's only been co-signer on majority of the bills. There's been two that you could say that really started with her, came through the committees and were passed. That means one per decade. When you have a congressperson who's passing one bill per decade and you keep on walking in and voting him in, why? Because the congressperson, answered a question I had about healthcare, or, there was an issue I had with IRS, and the congressperson's office made a phone call. And that congressperson doing it is their staff doing it, and that's their job. So the hell with the fact that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is gunning us everywhere. Our manufacturing has been controlled by the Chinese. There's people out on the streets right now because of these individuals who have been in position and are been inept at best. and really part of the process at worst to get us to where we are today. And you can't move your finger from here to here to vote them out. Then we're not going to be able to win in this fight. So hopefully we'll have a change. I know that voting by mail has been pushed through the states. I know there's been fights on each side. I want to get your opinion on it. But before we do, whether we like it or not, the reality is that voting by mail will take place and will start early. And I put some slides together for our folks, and the way you could help stop any type of fraud. You saw the site. You could go to the become an election judge. You could take those steps. But I kind of describe what is vote by mail means in one of the slides that viewers are looking at right now, and it's going to be part of the process. So if you are going to get something in the mail and it allows you to vote for me or Val on the 10th, or others on the cards, or Curran, who's running for the state senate, then let us know, and we'll come out, try to help you out and process it. But what is your take, if you can describe it, on the voting by mail, and what are some of the things that you guys might be doing to prepare for what is about to start, possibly as early as 1 August?
Sure. So obviously, in this last election where I was elected to office as a committeeman, part of the job of a committeeman is to recruit election judges. And before I was elected to this position on March 17th, we obviously saw a lot of problems with not having enough election judges to man the polling location. So at the last second, the last hour, the Board of Elections was scrambling, and I think they did a fairly good job scrambling, trying to make sure that people had the opportunity to go and cast their vote, because they didn't get the opportunity to do it due to COVID, to do it by mail. That being said, obviously, I think that when you have vote by mail situations, we've seen across the country there has been some major fraud involved in it. So we have to make sure that we hold the Board of Elections accountable for making sure that this fraud does not occur in our area. But also, again, we need individuals who are willing to step up, and preferably younger individuals, because as we've seen with COVID, without getting too much into the weeds of the severity of it, the bottom line is people are still scared to come out of their homes, and especially those who are elderly or upper in age. They're terrified to come into a polling location, and especially to man the location. So I would really, really like to see some of our younger people from our community step up, get involved. If they would like to become an election judge and help us with this issue, they can reach me on my email at ak.nwsgop@gmail.com.
Can you say that one more time, Amy? The email address?
Sure. Again, I'm in the 41st ward, so I'm on the far northwest side. But really, you don't necessarily have to live in the 41st ward if you wanted to be an election judge in the 41st ward. But you can send me an email if you're interested in this, or if you're interested in other areas. I do know all of the other Republican committeemen in our area on the Northwest side, because they are also members of our Northwest Side GOP Club organization. And I'll get you to the right committeemen if you prefer to serve in one of their wards. But you can send me an email at ak.nwsgop@gmail.com.
No, I think it's very important. Like you said, when I put out the slides, some people were saying, "Are you pushing for voting by mail?" And I said, "Well, this is a process." And as you said, some people are not going to come out because they're fearful of COVID. Whether you like it or not, that's their choice. So that's why you have vote by mail. So the best thing we could do is make sure that we go through the process as you could have now, based on the new laws you saw on the slide, as early as being a 16 years old and become an election judge. Now, you want them to be a little bit much more seasoned because they'll be able to at least stand up to some of the fraud that would be taking place. But there's a process for all this. And I think sometimes you get stuck around the rhetoric that this is better than that. I got to tell you, I can't guarantee you, I cannot guarantee that there's going to be voting places open during the time of the election. What I can guarantee you is a couple of things. Is probably that the day of the election is going to be a little bit longer. You're probably going to see a month out with vote by mail and maybe some early places being opened up because it gives enough time for people to stagger in to vote early. So maybe early voting would be a little bit broader than has been in the past. But if you wait till the last day, even when we didn't have the COVID, I would tell people, you wait till the last day and something happens, you can't make it. We just lost a vote. So I highly encourage you to do your best to get to the polling places if you can. As soon as you have the opportunity, vote by mail. There's drop boxes that are by those election locations. Now, once it gets dropped in there, I don't believe in these conspiracy theories that suddenly, a fleet of Chinese helos are going to come in and steal a box and going to replace it for something else. I don't live in that world. I only live in the world of there's a box, is under surveillance. If you have election judges, once the box is open and you pull out the ballots, you have to count them. And those election judges aren't there, guess what? Fraud takes place. If they're there, fraud doesn't take place. So it's very important for people to sign up. And for me, we're looking at probably the 9th of August, which is a Sunday at my location, at my house. We're probably going to try to get some members from teams. And if you have the opportunity, I would love to see you and your team here because I'm going to try to bring our GOP lawyers and also Charlene Foss, which is a committee woman for the night, to be able to sit down and talk through the process of what we need as far as help. So I'll probably stagger it in 2 different groups because we're limited to 50 people at a time. Still under the COVID restrictions and social distancing, to be able to have him here to go through that process. So I'll reach out to you, Amy, offline to try to get you guys to come here. I know that you guys have also some fundraisers that you're planning on doing, and I know as for us, there's going to be a fundraiser for the at least one of the fallen officers that we just received just less than an hour ago. What is it in works that you guys have planned for the near future?
Sure. So we do have a meeting coming up, just a general monthly meeting coming up. It's scheduled for August 30th. We wanted to recap the convention, of which I was actually chosen to be a superdelegate for, from one of 10 people throughout the state. I was chosen to represent the state of Illinois and support our president as our Republican candidate. Unfortunately, the president and the Republican Party chose to cancel the convention, in-person convention. I don't know exactly what that looks like as far as how it's going to be held virtually. I'm excited to see what that's going to look like, and obviously I will participate in it and bring that message and all of what had occurred during that time back to this meeting on August 30th. So we'd love to see people come to that event. Again, though, we are also restricted on the amount of people that we have at our meetings. We were at 49 people at our last meeting. So we were grateful that we didn't have to turn people away, but also grateful that we did have so many people still come out. After that,
Amy, where's the
Okay.
location of you? Can you put that out, the location?
Determined that yet. So if they want to go to our Facebook page, Northwest Side GOP Club on Facebook, you can search that. It will definitely be listed there. It'll also be listed on my Facebook page, Amy Kessam, 41st Ward Republican Committee person. And if they want to sign up for email so they can get all of our emails, they can go to www.nwsgop.com. That's nwsgop.com, and they can submit a request to receive our emails. There's also a donation button on there to submit for donations if they do not want to come to our fundraiser that's coming up. But our fundraiser, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work either, because we might have to stagger it in 2 different time frames so that we can accommodate all of the people who want to attend. But that is going to be a law and order fundraiser on September 11th. To honor the memory of those that were lost on September 11th, and to really push for the law and order ticket that we have put together. We have Mark Curran, who is running for U.S. Senate against Dick Durbin. We have Patrick O'Brien, who is running against current Cook County State's Attorney, Jokovic State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Then we have Anthony Beckman, who's running for State Senate against the incumbent Robert Bartwick in the 10th district. And then we also have Jeff Muehlfeller, who I saw standing behind you in one of your pictures at the police rally. He's running for state representative in House District 19. Both he and Anthony were at that police rally that day. And Mark was too. And I believe Patrick O'Brien was there too. I'm not positive about that. But we also are featuring Dan Patlak, who's running for Cook County Board of Review. Even though he's not in law enforcement, he's a huge supporter of law enforcement. So we're going to have him. We're hosting him at that fundraiser as well. So we hope people come out. That actually is going to be held at Moretti's in Edison Park. The address is 6727 North Olmsted Avenue. It's Olmsted Avenue in Chicago, 60631. It's Moretti's Restaurant. And again, that's on September 11th. I believe the time starts at 7 o'clock, but again, all that information is on our website.
No, I'm glad you're doing it, Amy. Look, and we do have strong tickets out there, and I'm me serving in the military myself and being a member of the Legion of St. Michael law enforcement community as a national and international rep for them has really helped us solidify a really strong ticket. But I always say it would be nice if there was an investment made by the GOP in Illinois, but I understand what the national GOP is dealing with, especially given the fact that there's a major fight right now to try to at least ensure that the swing states have as much support as possible. But like you said, September 11th is important because for me, I established the Near East Center for Strategic Engagement on September 11, 2014. It was really done in commemoration of the Americans who were murdered. As I always tell them, they were murdered, they were not killed, they were murdered on 9/11, and also in recognition of the first responders who still continue to suffer and die from these type of health-related effects that are arising from the attacks that took place. So the more we could do for our police, the better. I would even tell you one more person is Tom McCullough, who's I was at his gathering yesterday for K9 for servicemen, and the memorial is really designed to be able to support, fundraise, and get a support for individuals suffering from PTSD. And it's unfortunate that yesterday we had to add new names to that wall from individuals who have taken their own life because of what they're dealing with. So it's not easy. And I know I asked at the beginning, how is it for you as a police officer, especially how your daughters are reacting in today's climate? For those that are listening, Amy is not going to do a deep dive on issues that are possibly related to the police because she's still a police officer. So she could touch upon the generalities of the issues, but the deep dives that some people might be looking at are difficult because of the jobs that she's holding. But I would really like to know, has it affected your family, the daughters differently than it had in the past? If you could share with us just a glimpse as to what does a police officer mom deal with as she goes out every day to deal with these rioters and individuals who are at times intent to kill her.
Well, things have definitely changed since the time that my children were very young. I heard Jeff Muehlfeller, the candidate for state rep in House 19, make a statement the other day at the rally saying that he used to be very proud of the fact that he was a police officer and his family were all police officers, and they had no problem sharing that with the world. But these are completely different times. And now, as a police officer, we have to tell our children not to tell people that we are the police, that their parents are police officers, in fear of them being attacked or, some sort of retaliation, not just physically, but mentally. And I will tell you firsthand, my children have been attacked, bullied, not just by their peers, but just recently I had a school teacher, a person of authority, attack my daughter's character on a public post on Facebook. And that is just unacceptable behavior, all because of who her mother was. And it's disgusting that that is the world that we live in. And obviously, I'm going to be taking that up with some sort of action through her employment. And if I have to take legal action, I'll do that. But that is just unacceptable behavior. And we have to hold these people accountable, especially these people who are in these positions of authority. Our children do not deserve this. And when that happened, let me tell you, my mama bear claws were showing at that moment. And I'm not going to tolerate it. And neither should anybody else.
No, nobody should tolerate it. It's ridiculous. Some of the stuff we have to deal with. As I told you, even the K9 for veterans. There were calls that we're going to knock down those the rocks that have the name of these soldiers on it, and they had sprayed swastika on them just recently, and you have to pay to a tune of $10,000 just so wash them out. To me, if you're going to go and spray a swastika on a stone where a name of a service person is printed on, to me is committing murder. And when I get into Congress, I'm going to try my best to ensure that you want to be stupid. We'll try to pass as many laws as possible to ensure that you spend as much time as you want in prison for your beliefs and as much time as you want paying out of your pocket. So it will cost you. Let's see how dedicated you're going to be to your wants and desires. Eventually, like I said in my talk when we were supporting the police, a lot of this money is foreign money that comes in. Is unfortunate. Hopefully the Department of Justice will start slowly unraveling it, and I hope that they do not go to what they usually do, which is a deferred prosecution agreement, DPA. I think the DPAs have been absolutely awful. If you get rid of those and you start putting people in prison, even as I say, police officers arrest people. Put them in prison. Kim Fox wants to let them out. Let her keep on knocking them out. You do your job. You arrest them and put them in prison. We shouldn't have the people who are educating Americans here to educate Americans to go against their own parents, let alone to go against their country. So if you need help on in any of those aspects, let us know, because the days of being silent is over. So I'm not going to sit on the sidelines while police families are under attack. When I went to war, it was simple for me. I deployed overseas. I did my combat operations. I knew that my family was taken care of here back in the stateside. Unfortunately, with the COVID issue, you couldn't even as a police officer go back to your home because you might be taking a disease that you don't know what it could do initially when it first started hitting the states. And then you're dealing with riots at the same time. And then the same individuals who are supposed to be public officials who are supposed to have your back do not have your back. And these individuals are now even trying to turn around and pass laws that are going to go after your pension and dry you out. And then they're trying to defund you. So that's not going to happen, period. And there's 300 million Americans who have a voice. And trust me, you don't want to hear them open up and start talking. The best way to channel your anger to those Americans, I would say, is vote out the current incumbents, period. Get rid of them, clean house. And then let's start taking our country back again. because this level of stupid, I call it sometimes, is not going to be able to run our nation. Look what happened in CHOPS. You had individuals kicking out the police, wanting to defund them because supposedly you have white officers discriminating against black youth, and then the same white security Antifa puts rounds through a car window and kills a 16-year-old black youth. Because they're incompetent. They don't know policing. They don't know how to do it. Yet, we're trying to have social workers go out there who don't have the authorities to put their hands on somebody and try to take down a crack addict. And then while the teacher of the police officer's family is talking about, how that individual has rights over everybody else in America. No, it doesn't work that way. We're all equal under the law.
Right. I remember 10 years ago, the left used to talk about being tolerant. And we have seen a huge lack of tolerance on so many levels from the left. If you don't believe what they believe, then you are a white supremacist or you are a Nazi. I actually took my children with me to a pro-life rally a few months ago. And that same day, I had gotten a message that a Chicago public school teacher posted a picture of me and my children at that rally and called us Nazis. That's just, again, it's disgusting. I made a formal complaint with the Inspector General's office. I think they took it seriously. The investigator did call me. He was pulled in, and whatever happened as far as discipline goes, I'm not sure exactly, but listen, everybody's entitled to their beliefs. If you're pro-life, that's your belief system. I'm pro-life. If you're pro-choice, while I don't necessarily agree with it, and I don't want my money going to, my tax dollars going to fund that kind of thing, I have a right to say that. They don't have a right to post a picture of me and my children and call us Nazis for it. It's absurd.
I was sad about it that that teacher who probably shouldn't be teaching, because if you don't know history and you don't know what Nazis are, then you shouldn't be teaching. Nations that do not read history or know history will repeat it. Period. Nothing new. Nothing. It doesn't change. You could call it America 2020, or you could call it Egypt. 617 BC, or you could call it any other nation, because human character doesn't change. People are still people, regardless what the technology is. You have to do a deep dive on issues. At the end of the day, the problem is with that teacher doesn't understand that folks like me deploy overseas, and I had friends who died for that teacher to have that stupid opinion. And tomorrow, if that teacher's life is in danger, police officers like you are going to go and make sure that she's secured, because we're still Americans at the end of the day. We are not going to sell out our American public because we don't agree with them on a political issue. They need to understand that. At least the people who serve understand that. So hopefully, is a wake up for individuals like that teacher, that you need to get off of being stuck on stupid and stop just listening to your own echo chamber, and realize that there's millions of people in this country who are Americans, who have the same rights, and they don't agree with you. And you cannot just sit there and think that you can dictate to them what they should believe in. It doesn't work that way. We're human beings. We have a right to think how we want, say what we want in this beautiful, blessed country. And at the end of the day, if we do not lock hand in hand and work together, support ourselves, each other, then we're all going to fall. Simple, period. Amy, I want to give you last words. Tell us if there's anything we missed, and if people want to support you, help you, how can they support and help you guys?
So, yeah, like I said before, we really need funding to help get these candidates elected into office. We've been very limited on the amount of work that we've been able to do due to COVID and due to the restrictions that have been put upon us. We did file a lawsuit. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go. And in the meantime, like you said, we're less than 100 days away from this election. So we really need funding to try and get our message out, to let voters know that they do have options, especially here in Chicago on the Northwest side. They have options to choose candidates that share the same beliefs that the people in our communities also share. So if they want to go to our website, there is a donation button there. It's at www.nwsgop.com. Again, that's nwsgop.com. Please feel free to give us a donation there, and I promise you that we will make the best of it. The Board of Elections have been very slow to get us information to reach out to voters. So we really need voters to try to reach out to us to let us know that they're interested in whatever, volunteering, helping, donating, stuffing envelopes, whatever they can do to help us get this message out would be greatly appreciated. Again, my email is ak.nwsgop@gmail.com.
No, same thing, Amy. For me too. Before my campaign manager kills me because he's like, you don't spend too much time on asking for money. I need money. We need money. If you want to donate for us too, please go to www.votesangari.com. Again, www.votesangari.com, and there's a donate button. We need money. We cannot do it in the blind. Go ahead.
You know that you have our full support, Sargis, from the Northwest Side GOP Club. And hopefully our members will come out and be able to help you get that message across too. I know you mentioned August 9th. You're looking at that date, but let us know what you need on our end.
Will do. And we're probably going to have a support our Men and Women in Blue rally sometime after that. So it's very important that we also get folks to come on and help. And I'm going to reach out for your organization to help me. We got to do it together, folks. We cannot do it by ourselves. Money is important. Name and face recognition is big in this election campaign cycle. And I'm going to be honest with you, in this election cycle, I don't think the voter is going to make up their mind until maybe a few days out from the day of election, because there's a lot of things that could happen between now and then. So please donate. Yard signs are almost $6 each. You could donate up to $5,700 per person, which is the max amount you could give. I'm hoping that through this process also we're working on possibly creating a super PAC for police officers in the long run. In this case, every time a politician opens their mouth and does something stupid against the police, once we get that super PAC with those 800,000 officers that serve, we'll bury them in their election. I'll bleed them out if the last thing I could do, so they realize when they decide to make stupid decisions, there's going to be consequences to it. In this case, the consequence is going to be that they're going to go home and we're going to put somebody who's for law and order, and we will make sure that they will never, even their kids and their family will never have an opportunity to run, because those days are over. And this is going to be different than your union, police unions. This is going to be specifically a PAC that's going to be working on ensuring that individuals cannot make the type of decisions they are, which is putting police officers in danger. Amy, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I know it's difficult, and I know you're limited on what you could say, but hopefully we can get you back here again in the future as we go along.
Thank you for having me, Sargis. I appreciate it.
To our listeners, thank you again. Please help us out. Go to www.votesangari.com and help us out and help Amy and the GOP organizations are in your district as best as you can. We need the support. We need the money. Let's push this through and let's get a victory in less than 100 days. With that said, thank you for listening to New Paradigms, and God bless.